Hi there, everybody. I'm Sharon Waxman, the editor-in-chief of TheWrap, coming to you from TheWrap Studios at the Sundance Film Festival 2021. Here we go. Yet another fantastic film. We're excited to talk to the filmmaker and the cast behind a film that's not in competition, in the festival, called Together. Please welcome writer-director Nicole Beckwith and the leading cast members, Patty Harrison and Ed Helms. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations. We're
Are
doing
we
it.
in competition?
It's Sundance.
Just out of curiosity. We are in
We're
competition.
We're
Yeah.
in competition.
I got confused because you guys already have a distributor, so that's why I got confused. But this year is also topsy-turvy. We have films that are in Sundance that are also competing for the Academy Awards. It's all like, it's a mess, but we're really ready for some fun films. And this one is a really fun look at having babies. And so the premise of the film, let me just tell our viewers, because they haven't gotten to see it yet probably, is Ed plays a young software executive, entrepreneur, we'll say.
Developer.
Developer, entrepreneur, whatever.
App developer.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. Who wants to be a parent very badly and is not married. And so he makes an agreement with Patty Harrison's character, who will carry his child. She'll be the surrogate for his baby. And this is a very, I'll call it man bites dog premise. Not usually, you don't usually see a surrogate. In fact, I've never even heard or even thought about a surrogate for a single parent who's a dad. I have many friends, colleagues who are women who've chose to be single parents for various reasons, but it's not so usual. So Nicole, let me just start with you, who wrote the film. Where did this thought process come to you from? Was this drawn from a real life experience or not?
Not my real life experience. I'm sure some people's real life experience. But yeah, I mean, kind of just what you said, we're very familiar with stories of like women doing whatever it takes to be mothers, but we don't usually shine a light on the male biological clock and like a guy's drive to be a dad, which exists. And so I wanted to tell that story and tell us a kind of positive, hopeful surrogacy story. It's more and more becoming a part of the way families are created. And I think that usually when we're hearing a story about a surrogate, it's kind of there's these moments of like melancholy, like the central conflict tends to be like, oh, but now how am I possibly going to give up this baby? I'm a woman and I'm meant to be a mother. And so I'm sure that happens, and that is part of a spectrum of experience for surrogacy, but there's a whole other pole where there's a lot of positivity, a lot of hope, and like, a different vibe. And so I wanted to tell that story.
Mm-hmm. And when you read the script, did you think, I can't imagine this happening, or did you think this is a good sort of turning a convention upside down, and so I love it?
Yeah, certainly the latter. I think what's so powerful and resonant about this story is that it isn't something that I think most people are familiar with or would even conjure up, and yet in the execution it feels so natural and right. And that, I think, is what is so what is so cool about what Nicole has tapped into, which is I don't know, a story that kind of begs the question, like, why isn't this told more? And I think the answer to that, which is addressed in all kinds of humorous and poignant ways in the movie, is a comment on our cultural expectations, how these conversations generally go in our lives, all the assumptions that are just baked into us culturally, that the movie really is almost more about that than this story in a way. And
more about our assumptions, or more about?
Yeah, I think there's a subtext to this movie that's it's not even subtext. Oh, there's a lot of overt conversation in the dialogue about some of these assumptions and about some of the ways that that these characters relate that's unusual or surprising, and why it's unusual or surprising, and maybe it shouldn't be, and maybe some of the ways that we think about these things are a little antiquated or just rooted in some deeper problematic thought patterns culturally. So I sort of see that as the superscript of the movie in a way, and that the story is this kind of like, the story of the movie is this kind of very sweet and welcoming and warm way into that more complex conversation. And I apologize, you're seeing the tattoo that my 3-year-old put on me yesterday. It's a little worm with a top hat and it's smiling at us.
It's COVID and
Sorry.
all is good. In fact, if the 3-year-old is to wander into the frame at any point, that's good too. Patty, I think you're just a wonderful delight in this movie. Congratulations. The movie opens on you, and you are front and center through so much of the film, and tonally, like, you have to hit it right. And it's just so much fun to watch you take the journey of, being I'm not going to say a mixed up, but like, what am I, trying to figure it out, I would say, kind of person.
Yeah, thank you. It's really nice. It was very, it was very different from other like acting roles that I've done. And that tone that was like communicated was hugely in part from like a lot of discussions and work with Nicole and Ed, because I just never played a character like that before, and like never had to kind of be that restrained. I think I usually do a lot of sillier, dumber comedy stuff. Maybe dumb isn't the word, but like my work is dumb and shitty before this. I do a lot of dumb, stupid shit, like stupid, worthless shit. And this wasn't that.
Like,
you're branching out.
Well, what do you really feel? Well, I don't know I'm sure that's not true of your previous work, so we're going to discount that part of your comment. But still, there is what I kept expecting the character to do was to get like pissed off at Ed's character and just be like, leave me alone, like get off my case. Or I expected him to really fall deeply in love with your character. And I'm not trying to spoil the movie for anybody, but it just maintains this balance of like, you're looking for connection as well, even though you're not looking to fall in love with the guy who's hired you to have this baby, but you also somehow welcome the attention. I don't know. I just talk about those conversations that you had with Nicole about how you find that tone. And obviously I know it's in the script, but still.
Yeah, I think what's really intriguing, really intriguing about the movie to me is that it could on paper at first look like it's going to be a very conventional kind of like rom-com-y, will they, won't they sort of situation. Yeah. And I think Nicole really wrote this character there's kind of like the draw of that, and then it fleshes out laterally in such an interesting way. It explores all these other spaces of these characters. I think like it's giving this level of real kind of like humanity, all of these levels that are really like the detail orientedness of Nicole is very, I think is what like takes it to another level. And we did talk about like, a lot about like before we would shoot scenes, like we would touch base and Nicole would be like, this is like where she's coming from. Like, this is like, imagine like kind of being like, she was very soft about like talking through, but like in detail. And like, we were like, me, her, and Ed would like work through kind of like, we'd sit in Nicole's living room earlier on and read and be like, where are you going? Like trying to figure out, because it's like, yeah, I think I did have at first some of these preconceived things that I was projecting onto the movie that I was like, oh, this kind of looks like this, so this is how I'll play it. And I think it really helped immensely to have Nicole help break down some of those like biases that I had in the way that she directs. That was like really wonderful. And I think it like opened my mind to exploring more restrained, a restrained point of view for this character that, yeah, she is like, she obviously not ideal. It's not like the thing you want to be. You're not, it's not like I want to be this as my dream job is like the surrogate or anything like that. But there is like unexpected like joy. And I think the kind of portraying being caught off guard by that and how that kind of like interrupts this idea that she had about what the experience was going to be. I think it's, I just think Nicole's a great writer and a great director.
So Nicole's just like been blushing all the way through that. I want to have like a close up on Nicole if you're talking about her. That was very sweet.
Well, Nicole's very allergic to dogs, and right before today, I expedited an envelope full of dog dander and dog hair. So she just opened that, which was like, why?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see what, So Patty, I want to ask you also about what it was like playing this character as a trans actor. It's an interesting, I bring it up mainly because, not because it matters at all, but because I think it's wonderful for our viewers to know that that's part of your journey as an actor, as a person, and that here you are playing essentially you're playing a surrogate mother, and so having dealt with issues relating to your own body and your own gender identity in your life. How was that? And I also would ask Nicole if that did not play any part at all in your thoughts about casting Patty, or if it was something that you thought was a positive in some ways.
Well, I think in terms of in a broader idea of casting, the push to diversify all aspects of the entertainment industry, like diversify who's creating the projects and who's acting in it and why representation is important. We're in a very, dense conversation about a shift that needs to happen in our industry. And I think a big part of that conversation that I hope we're getting to is extending beyond just like putting a marginalized person on screen, but letting that person have opportunities that are outside of the non-marginalized person's perception of what that person's role should be. I think this was an experience I never expected to get to do. And I, at least not in a restrained way. I thought that, maybe I'd play a pregnant woman as a joke in a silly comedy sketch or something like that. But it definitely was like a gift to get to do this movie and to step outside of like my lived experience as a trans person, because there are a lot of other projects that I've been approached to do where it's about like, oh, you'd be playing like, this trans person who's like really struggling, or like we would want you to make a show where you play like this trans woman who hasn't come out yet, and then all the struggles of that. And that's kind of the opposite of why I started acting and doing comedy and stuff. It's like that creative outlet of acting and doing comedy is an escape for me. It's an emotional massage and like just a decompression from the lived experience and the stress that comes with, the way society treats trans people. And I'm careful about the wording of that, because I don't want to say like being trans sucks or something. It's like on paper, it should be amazing. Intrinsically, it's an amazing like thing to get that kind of expression, but it's like the way society on a whole, those attitudes, the way they see trans people and the way that affects like who gets hired for what, like what access you have to certain jobs, that's hard. And I hope that like, if anything, there are more opportunities for trans people to play non-trans parts, or just like parts where that character can be trans and it doesn't have to be shoehorned into this plot of the show of like, like some character doesn't have to walk on screen and be like, by the way, I'm gay. and then it's like, oh, they're a pilot. They're like a
Right.
scientist, but
Right.
they're like, oh, I'm a gay scientist. Like that's the
Right.
point I think I feel at where our industry is at, is where even though we're getting more representation from like marginalized creators, I think a lot of the people who are, you know, in development, the gatekeepers, are still selecting projects based on their own perception of what that person's marginalization brings to their story and what the stories they're capable of telling. And this movie was such a step beyond any of that for me. And yeah, just it was so exciting at the idea of it. It just sounded like a lot of fun, and it sounded like something completely outside of my comfort zone, and like it would be work and a new experience, and it absolutely was.
Nicole, do you have any thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with so many things, or everything Patty is talking to. I mean, I think that a lot of times, like actors of color or other marginalized groups of people come in, and their storylines always have to do with, you know, not being white or being trans or being gay. And I think it really robs, you know, the representation of the thing, of the relatability that I think is crucial in not othering people, you know. So yeah, I hope people are starting to get more you know, open about the way that they're casting and thinking about parts. Like a non-white actor should not just be going in for roles that are specified as being like not white. And that goes across the board for everything. But you know, I saw Patty on the Tonight Show, and like a little like bloop went off in my heart, and I was like, oh my God, there's Anna. And so that's
cool.
just kind of, yeah, that's just kind of what happened for me.
And Ed, speaking on behalf of all straight white men, which you do not have to do. But do you have a thought on sort of where this is? It feels like some kind of progress to me, you know, just not pigeonholing people all the time. And the whole movie is like about not pigeonholing people's aspirations and choices.
Yeah. Yes. No, I really think I really think Patty and Nicole summed it up quite articulately.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I loved getting to meet you. I don't think I've gotten to meet any of you before in all these ridiculous dog years I've been in, been around and come to Sundance. So I hope we'll get to see more of your work. But this is such a fun film, such an interesting and thoughtful and different film, and it's really kind of what Sundance is all about. So it was great to meet you. Ed, thanks for coming. Patty, Nicole, best of luck with the film, and thanks for being here.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.